Hello and welcome to the Book of Leaves podcast. My name is Cara and I am your host. Hello and welcome to episode 58 of Book of Leaves. It is lovely to have you here. This is a podcast where I interview people who are in Ireland or have a connection to Ireland about something eco-friendly that they're doing. They could just be regular activists, they could have a business, they could be parents just trying to do their bit for the planet, anyone at all. And we take a leaf from their book or several leaves from their book to add our own way of living, which is why it's called Book of Leaves. If this is your first episode, you are very welcome, and to any regular listeners, hello and welcome back. If you are new to the podcast and you're not someone who likes the chit chat at the start from the host about what's been going on, if you want to skip right ahead probably about 6 minutes or so, that's probably when the interview will get started. And any episode in the last season, and 2 seasons actually, all the show notes will have a little what's it called? Timetable. So if you click more in the show notes, you can actually see the time at which each topic starts being discussed at. So if you're only here for like a little bit of the chats, a little bit of the interview, you can actually go down and skip right forward to that. I just thought I'd let you guys know. But if you're here for the chats, hey. So what's been going on? This episode, of course, is with Laragh McCann from Climate Love Ireland. Also 100% ReLoved. It's another campaign that she set up that's related to Climate Love Ireland. When I was on social media over the weekend saying this is going to be my episode on Monday, I accidentally said Climate Love Island, and now I want that to be a thing. So if any of you guys have ideas as to what a Climate Love Island could be about, like, I don't know if we have like a singles night of people who are all like really passionate about climate change, or I don't know. Yeah, but it's a working title. But if any of the team at Climate Love Ireland want to get on board, let's collab, you guys. But Lara also featured on the Climate Alarm Clock podcast, which is another podcast that I've been working with the last couple of weeks, and they've got, I think, 2 episodes left. So it's got that podcast is going really well. They've been explaining what's been going on at COP and everything, so I would check that out, especially if you are based in Ireland. And COP. So if you haven't heard, basically the biggest disappointment with COP26 was a sentence in the final agreement which said we want to phase out coal, basically. And in the last couple of hours or hour into finishing that agreement, India and China asked for the phase out to be phased down instead, which was really, really disappointing. And yeah, that's basically one of the biggest disappointments, despite the event being very exclusive and closed off to people. Very kind of strange from what I've been hearing, but I won't delve too much into COP. But I would recommend that you join, I don't know, a protest movement, or you join a group like Climate Love Ireland. That, you know, I think joining groups where we can grow in numbers together to tackle this issue, to remind the government of their job and their duty, I think is important. And there was also the COP26 Climate Justice Coalition march that happened on the 6th or 7th of November. That was amazing. There was loads of people. There was maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people on the streets in Dublin, which was biggest march for climate since before COVID. So that was great, and it was great to see so many faces that I actually haven't met before. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, so there's some little updates. I myself have actually taken a tiny step back from organising in activism, just because I've realised that I have a thing called hyper-independency, which basically from like growing up, I just was doing things myself. It's kind of how I, you know, achieved the best kind of results in school or whatever. I just do my homework myself. I would do everything myself, and I'm a very organised person and I take loads on, and now I just got to this point where I'm like, this is not sustainable, can't do it anymore. So I've taken a step back. I'm reading Active Hope by Joanna Macy, which I'm finding very helpful, and in regards to dealing with the kind of climate anxiety and stuff. And so I'm trying to figure out how to navigate and work more efficiently when you have always kind of worked best on your own, doing everything, like doing as much as you possibly can. So I'm still doing the podcast, and I'm still going to work, and I'm still going to protests when I can. I just have taken a step back from organising them for now, but I want to be back as soon as possible. I just need to figure out how to do it without, as someone put it to me, you need to fill your cup before giving to others. And I was like, I think there's a hole in my cup, so I have to fix my cup, because no matter what I do, I can't fill it, because I just then go back to taking too much on. So that is a little bit what's been going on with me. And yeah, the work that I've been doing, I'm actually doing a play at the moment. So today is the 15th of November. We're going to be in Navan Solstice Art Centre tonight at 8 p.m. if anyone wants to come and watch a comedy and distract themselves from the climate crisis for a couple of minutes, for an hour and a half. It's quite entertaining. It's called The Star of Chester's Lane. I'm going to leave a link in the show notes, because why not? It'd be lovely to meet some of you in person as well. If any of you do want to come, say hi. So that's a little tour that I'll be doing. And yeah, that is it. We're nearly coming up to Christmas. If you are in the market, is that what you say, for a Christmas tree and you're looking to get a real Christmas tree, Cork grown Christmas trees, Cork pot grown Christmas trees are a business based in Cork. They're doing delivery to Dublin, maybe a couple of other places. You can rent a real tree that's grown in a pot, or you can buy your own potted Christmas tree, and it's specifically grown in the pot, so it lasts like much longer. It's much better for the environment. So I just want to give them a shameless plug, unaffiliated. They're just doing great work. So if you're in the market for a Christmas tree, go check those out. All right, I will now hand it over to Laragh. I really enjoy this chat. Oh yeah, and there's one little point in the interview where you'll hear the audio change for a couple of seconds, and that's because the connection lapsed. So Laragh sent in a WhatsApp voice note to fix it. So if you hear like a little change in the audio, that's what's going on. Nothing major. But yeah, everything is linked in the show notes. Don't forget, if you like the podcast, please share it with a friend, leave a little review. There is a Patreon account and buy me a coffee, buymeacoffee.com/Book of Leaves. If you're able to contribute to the podcast, that'd be amazing. In the meantime, please share it around or leave a review. All right, here is Laragh. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you after. Laragh, thank you so much for joining me for the Book of Leaves podcast. It is lovely to have you here, and I would ask that you introduce yourself to me and to anyone listening who doesn't know you. That would be fab.
Thank you so much for having me, and as I said, this is my first ever podcast, so
what an honour.
I know. So thank you so much for having me. It's like one of my favourite climate podcasts in Ireland, so I really admire all the work you're doing, and
stop.
Keep it up. And thank you so much for doing it. So I'm founder of Climate of Ireland and the kind of our circular fashion project 100% ReLoved. So Climate of Ireland was a kind of climate action community, I guess, that started in 2019 as a direct response to the incredible global climate strike that took place in March of 2019. So that was just such a life-changing day for me, and I kind of very organically, no prior thought, just started an Instagram platform, and it's kind of morphed and shapeshifted into what it is today. And then my background's actually in fashion, so I kind of started 100% ReLoved because I love Climate of Ireland, but it's a very kind of activist space, and I personally am interested in photography and film and more kind of less serious things, I guess. So it's kind of my way of expressing that side of me and still being environmentally friendly, but just in a different, more kind of creative way.
Yeah, I can so relate to that. That's so lovely. And we'll get the lowdown on exactly what Climate Love Ireland do now, because they're very active now, and we'll go into 100% ReLoved. But you were saying, obviously, the Climate March was a life-changing moment for you. But leading up to that, and growing up, I don't know, as a child, were you in touch with nature? Were you environmentally conscious kind of always growing up? Was your family an inspiration? Or what was it kind of like your process into becoming a climate activist that you would show up to a march?
Yeah, I was always massively obsessed with animals. I think when I was about 6 or 7, I started a group in my primary school called Ambrift, which is like animals, mammals, birds, reptiles, insects, fish trees.
Oh my God,
And I had short hair and like wore t-shirts with like falcons on it and like spoke in a really deep voice and would like protect the worms in the yard. So like, but I did love animals. And then that was kind of supported within my family. Like my dad also is really, I guess he's quite like a stern person around people, but around nature, he's so much more in touch with kind of a softer side. So
Oh.
I kind of saw that within him. And then my mom, we moved to Killiney when I was about 5. And there was a kind of a cleanup group on the beach called the K-Bag, Killiney Beach Awareness Group. So like once a month there was cleanups there. And it was so fun. Like I loved going, and there was like kind of all the ladies. It's funny that like, even though it's like a gender neutral invite, like I think there was like one man out of like 12 ladies that turned up.
Wow.
But there was like, I just found it a really fun day to meet people and just hang out on the beach, clean up, and there'd be potato crisps and tea after and stuff like that.
It was massively a part of your life, like to be going along to those things. Your parents are obviously kind of ahead of their time in a way, being so proactive.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, totally. Like looking back, I see that now because I just even have a Climate of Ireland. We have a volunteer WhatsApp group, and people are kind of just speaking today. Actually, they're like, is there any advice on how to talk to people, family and friends? Because like people within the group speak to their family and they get kind of poo-pooed off, just being like, you're a tree hugger. Like we have bigger fish to fry, basically. And I realized like, and I definitely, it's something I took for granted that my family's not like that at all. But then when I was about 14, I got into the fashion industry, and that was kind of, I became a model, which is something I really don't really feel like that's me. I feel like since starting Climate of Ireland, I've kind of gone back to like Ambrift girl.
Who's your true self.
Yeah, like I do like the fashion industry has like taught me a lot and has informed a lot, but it's not really, yeah, I feel like it's such a strong identity that I had for so long that what doesn't really match my passion, I guess.
Yeah.
But I did start when I was about 14, and then it kind of in Dublin, and then when I was about 16, it like kind of went really, really fast. I went to Paris and I did very well, got lucky, and then worked for a number of years. But when I was 19, I think I was living in New York, and then my mom, I think she wanted me back. So she applied to NUIG Galway for me. And she was just like, Lara, like, you don't have to do it, but you got into environmental science in Galway, like, maybe you could come back. And I did come back, and I tried it for 3 months, but I think I just wasn't in the headspace. I was very used to like a very fast-paced adult kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
And then I just suddenly like was in Galway in campus, and I think I made like one lecture, and like I joined the ultimate frisbee team, and I was just like drinking every day, and I was like, I'm not like, I just couldn't do it. So I didn't last.
So, because yeah, to be taken out of like such a, I know friends. I've only dabbled in the modeling industry. It just looks so stressful, and it is so high paced. And then when you're so used to kind of being on nature's kind of rhythm as a child, like, and then to be really quickly taken back out of that and thrown into college. And did you end up then pursuing fashion as like from a design point of view at any point?
Yeah, I started to like, I always had a disposable camera. I started kind of trying to assist photographers. I did a bit of assisting with styling. Like I was kind of just interested in the background, and I think I was so obsessed with the modeling aspect of things to start. But then after a few years, I was just more interested in being on the other side of things. But it wasn't like an easy get out card, because it was kind of how I got so much validation. It was how I was financially independent. So it was kind of a process of about 5 years where I was kind of going back and forth, like trying different things. And I was getting into photography, and then I moved back to Ireland about 5 years ago, and I actually photographed Aisling Byrne's like new wardrobe when it was just starting out.
Oh yeah, I had Aisling on this podcast before. So yeah, if New Wardrobe is like a clothes sharing, swapping app, and yeah, it's really really good.
Oh, it's so good. And like she actually just wrote an article today on something applying for funding in the patriarchy, which I just thought was amazing. She's so ahead of her time. But yeah, that was there was a few little kind of stages throughout my 20s where like these things kind of buzzed, and I met these people, and it really resonated kind of quite deep. And I was like, I thought her concept was just, it made so much sense. I was just like, yes, like we should be swapping clothes, because I've shopped in charity shops since I was like a teenager, not because I thought it was ethical or sustainable. I just find it cheaper, more fun. I kind of got a bit overwhelmed in the huge big high street shops, so I just preferred the more bric-a-brac vibes of the charity shops. But yeah, so Aisling Byrne, I kind of worked with her on that, which was really inspiring, and then also did a photographed grown clothing for Thread magazine, and they were super inspiring.
Yeah, that's another Irish company. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, so like by the time Climate of Ireland came and 100% Reloved, like there was loads of little seeds throughout the years that kind of led to me being ready when that happened, even though I didn't know what was going to happen.
I think that's what happens, like most people. You don't really know, but you feel like, let's just try it. So that's
Yeah.
that's really, really cool. And I guess Climate Love Ireland, you're one of the people who started that. So that is from an outside perspective, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's like a group of people who, it's kind of evolved. You've got a brilliant Instagram that's really informative and will reshare information. And it seems to be like a group of activists and that are just trying to educate and raise awareness. But like you said, now you've got like a volunteer WhatsApp group, and then you're doing like beach cleanups and stuff like that, or litter pickups. Is there anything else that's involved with Climate Love Ireland?
Yeah, there's loads of stuff in the pipeline. It's kind of shape shifted. Like initially it was kind of just me, like I had made a climate march video and didn't have a platform to put it on, so that was kind of why I was like, oh, I'll start an Instagram. And then I mailed Emma Conway, who's this amazing Irish graphic designer, and just kind of described like unity, heart, the earth, and then she made the logo, which is like a heart above the earth, and it's kind of meant to be like an exclamation point, so there's an active spirit in finding solutions. And like as soon as I saw the logo, like it sparked so much joy, and I was like, oh my god, like this is so cool. I felt like it was something so solid. And back then it was very much like the climate strikes were happening. It was pre-COVID. So the structure was photograph of the strike, fact, photograph of the strike, quote. And that was kind of what happened. And then I met Cormac at the strike. So kind of he came on and you know, would help every now and then with the social media. And then Kiva Durkin was another amazing girl that I just happened to meet as well throughout the whole thing, and really met all these like-minded people. It was like such a, like, I think before Climate of Ireland, I don't even know what I was doing. Like, I feel like it must have been so lonely, because now there's like such a community and you're finding so many like-minded people. And then 100% Reloved started off that because I was kind of loved to the heart, and I was like, you know, thinking like, imagine it on a t-shirt. But then obviously you don't want to create merch as a climate platform because, you know, 2,500 litres of water for a t-shirt. So I was like, just put it on a charity shop t-shirt or something that like your own t-shirt. Yeah, that's how like 100% Reloved kind of morphed into an idea.
It's really, really cool. It's such a lovely idea, and the logo is beautiful. So for people listening who might not know or have heard of this, so 100% Reloved, there's you can buy a pin of the logo, which is always made of upcycled materials. It can be wood or with like a kind of see-through middle bit or a painted heart in the middle, and you wear it on your clothes, and it shows that you are wearing something that is already owned. And I think that's like really clever, as opposed to obviously selling merchandise, as you sell the pin and the pin like says something. And I guess we've had a couple of talks about fashion, a couple of people talk about fashion on this before. Were there any other, because you were obviously, there was a certain point where you realized that the fashion industry is like bad, is
horrific.
Yes, bad, it might be putting it lightly. So like, what was it that you learned, or was it a documentary or something that you watched or something that you saw that like triggered that in you?
Well, I think because I went through really like the kind of storms of fashion personally as like a kind of pawn, a model, I have a lot of drive from kind of like a personal guttural feeling of like things I want to change. So it's not just, it's quite personal to me, actually, in a way. There was so many things, I guess, from like new wardrobe, like working with Aisling, grown clothing. And then my brother, actually, he's now global partnerships lead with Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which is like one of the world's leading kind of foundations I don't know how to describe them, research firms on circular economy. So they work with like, so they work with like big fashion. They're based in the Isle of Wight, but they're like a big foundation now, and they work with like, you know, H&M and Nike and all these brands in fashion, or like bio food, and they're really one of the front runners in circular economy. And I remember maybe a few years ago looking at a talk from Ellen MacArthur, who's like this amazing kind of sailor woman who was talking about circular economy, and this was before it was kind of mainstream. And I remember like being really passionate about what she was talking about, but I felt like it wasn't accessible to me. I felt like I haven't gone to college. I'm not a scientist, and it seemed very kind of complicated. But then once I thought about it, I was like, actually, like I've already taken part in circular economy, because like I steal my sister's clothing all the time, and like I've gone to charity shops. So like I have, most girls have naturally, actually. We know how to mend. We've like, you know, probably all got a scissors to like a t-shirt in the past. Like, you know, it's not rocket science in some ways. Like I think fashion is, you know, a really good gateway for people to start to access terminology and stuff like circular economy, and then from that point then you can kind of merge into more complex issues and then go naturally from there. But I don't think it has to feel complicated. I think fashion like is amazing, and I think people really need to separate kind of the underlying business and profit driven capitalist systems that are kind of the same for everything, and actual fashion itself, because there's so much joy and creativity and self-expression and you know, culture and heritage and everything in fashion itself in its purest form. So I don't think people really need to separate you know, dismissing fashion and more dismissing capitalism and the, you know, the majority of middle-aged white male CEOs and the whole systems that underlay it. But like you can still have the joy of fashion, self-expression, and on a circular system. Like you don't need to make stuff from scratch. Like the systems in play really ruin fashion, because there's planned obsolescence. Is that the terminology for clothing? It's intentionally made to fall apart within a couple of washes in fast fashion. So you really, I think, can sense that as a consumer, as a shopper. I think there's a level of in the experience that's just, it's kind of like, I don't know, I watched what's that series about the drug dealers in New York? but I feel like the, you know, fashion is like it's
Wire? No.
Yeah, I
Was
think
it
it is
The Wire?
Wire. Yeah. So like I think like it's like originally I think maybe like fast fashion was like democratic and the quality was probably a bit better, but gradually the quality's gotten lower, and like it's kind of an addiction now. So I almost feel like, you know, the drugs in the corner are just the crap stuff, and they're taking the piss out of the customers, and like we have this crap experience. It's all just, I don't know, I shouldn't be, well, I do think it is an addiction.
For some people it 100% is. Some people it definitely, of course not everyone, but for some people it genuinely is, like, and that like of just consuming like new things and spending money that you do not have on clothes you can't afford, that are also made at the expense of someone and the environment. But I think the media has a huge part to play in not exactly brainwashing, but like
totally really, it's propaganda.
Yeah, a lot of like, if it's selling to your ideal self, you know, if you buy this top you will feel and be as popular or as loved as the your most favorite Instagram person that you follow, or your most famous celebrity, when they're searching out that validation themselves. Like, it's such a complicated, messy web. But I have, like, fashion was probably the last kind of Tetris block to land in my kind of sustainability thing. Like, because I come from like a family with like not a lot of money, so pennies is like where we got our clothes and stuff. So when I finally realized the pollution that was being done, and since then the joy I get from like finding something in a charity shop, and like there's a whole different sense of pride when you are wearing that thing and you're like, I found this. I know I didn't make it, but I found it. Like, you know, anyone can get anything on Boohoo or Nasty Gal or in Pennies, and you know, there'll be loads of people with the same thing, but you find this thing that was on sale like 20 years ago, and then you like can access it. I'm not a big fashion person. Like, I'm very basic, like jumper. I still wear skinny jeans. Apparently I've been told that's a big no now.
What?
But like, yeah, I find it does, even though I'm not that interested, when I find something really cool, it just brings me, like you were saying, sparks joy, and it's so much more exciting, and it's a talking point. And then to bring it back, I think that's what's really good about the badge that people can wear. This little stylish pin that can make people go, oh, that's a lovely badge, and you'd be like, oh yeah, thanks, I'm wearing it because this is secondhand, and you can like start a conversation or whatever. Like, it makes such a difference.
Yeah.
Have you got any examples actually, or memories of times where it has sparked a conversation or raised awareness, even wearing it yourself, or anyone you know have they come back with you with stories?
Yeah, like I have cousins from the States, and I feel like Americans are way better at like self-promotion, because I'm wearing a pin and people ask me, and like I do talk about it, but I feel like I'm like, yeah, it's, you know,
you like brush it off. Yeah, you're like, it's an Irish thing to do. If you've got anything got to do with it, you're like, oh, it's just a little thing, it's just a little small thing, don't worry about it, son.
Exactly. But then my cousins from the States, like, and they've been Cara and Risa, they were originally from California, now they're in Hawaii, and they've actually been vegetarians for life and worked in consignment stores, and they come back to me with stories, and they're like, oh my god, Lara, like I wore your pin and my friend asked me, and then they're like, can we have 10 over? And I'm like, you guys need to come back to Ireland and like sell these things for me, because you're so like good at it. But they come back with lots of stories, and they wear theirs every single day, and they come back with loads of stuff. So yeah, that's really nice and supportive. And yeah, like that's exactly what you said. Like it's the kind of using the power of branding and unity, because like all these clothes are invisible. Like you could see loads of people walking down the street and you don't know if they're wearing like a brand new Zara coat or like a very similar coat bought in a charity shop. And I do think that terminology charity shop needs to be upgraded, because I think there can be a stigma attached to that. And also like it needs like it's such a great business model that I feel like it needs a 2021 like revamp title. But anyway, I think that using the power of branding to kind of reframe, like from stigma to pride of that you're re-wearing something, it's a way to say, like, instead of kind of berating people and giving out to them for like shopping and Pretty Little Thing and all the water that's wasted and, you know, the exploitation, kind of switching the conversation and saying, you know, by re-wearing this pair of jeans, you've saved 10,000 liters of water. You are not enabling exploitation. Your money's going to like help people. And like, so it is like in every way, like a better option. Like you save money. You're like, if you do a swap with friends, it's a way to actually connect with people. You're not like thinking this is my pair of jeans that I got alone in a shop. Like it's actually this way more community vibe. All these clothes that are already existing aren't invisible. They're visible now. And yeah, that was the thought behind it.
No, it's so good. So people can buy pins and also some iron-on patches from the website. What is the website for people?
The website is www.100%reloved.com, and they're also available in Reuse and in Thriftify. But we're building the Climate Love Ireland website at the moment, and we're actually hoping to merge 100% Reloved like kind of into Climate Love Ireland. Maybe wait until it's on Climate Love Ireland website.
Sure. And if people have any issues, I'm sure if you search Climate Love Ireland, you'll find it there. But there's also instructions on how people can make their own on the website that you guys have now. So what would you suggest people do to do that?
Yeah, like we really, really encourage people to just, make their own. And I, you know, if I had all the resources in the world, like I'd love to kind of facilitate a campaign where we use the heart as like just one template where people could explore different materials to make it. So you could do, you could do it with marker on a white t-shirt or tie-dye or, you know, embroidery, ironing on denim. There's infinite ways that you can do this one shape. So I think that's what's kind of exciting. And it, like, you know, in some ways it's such a scary time, like what do we do? But also it's just such an innovative, creative time at the moment. Like there's so many interesting materials coming out for fashion. Like there's mushroom materials like that are amazing that can replace leather, and they're obviously completely biodegradable. And but yeah, we like, for the heart, you can make it however you like. And we really, because that's the thing, like I'm not an expert in fashion designing, but I think there's loads of other experts out there. So if we kind of set free this like one little template, then people can share into the pot like the ways they've made it and kind of discuss and explore like different techniques of how you can reuse materials, and it becomes such a creative, connective space. And obviously not just with this heart, but I think in fashion and the climate crisis and solutions in general, I think everybody needs to admit
none of us is experts in everything. Some of us are very knowledgeable in one aspect of things, but we shouldn't wait until we're all experts in everything. Everybody has something unique to bring to the table, so we should really open up our resources and put them into the pot together and learn from each other, so we can collectively grow much faster.
Exactly. It's much more empowering that way to know that like we don't need to wait for policy or government or people with environmental science degrees to do something. Like I keep saying I introduce myself as a jack of all trades, master of none. Like I literally have no expertise in anything. And then when people ask me to talk about something, I'm like, are you sure? Like, because I might reference Wikipedia. Because I'd be like quite creative as well, and it's very hard to become I think a creative expert because it's so like broad. But I think just doing something and knowing that like you can make a change, and even if like you're just passionate about like bees or something, like you don't need to have gone to bee school to teach people about bees and how to help bees. Like it all helps. That's really, really cool. And I really love the idea of like this really simple logo that like you can wear, people can stick on their clothes, and it'll like start a conversation and be like, yeah, I got this secondhand, or this is, I like, so many things of mine are hand-me-downs and I want people to ask me about it. I'm like, I actually want it to be brought up, but obviously you don't want to be just like people are there talking about like what flavor coffee they got, and I'm like, by the way, is no one gonna ask me about my jumper? Whereas if like if you're wearing like a little badge or a brooch or something, it makes it a little bit more likely. So I think it's really clever. So I'll link the website, and obviously if that changes I will update it. And how can people, what are your socials if people want to follow you guys?
So the Climate Love Ireland one is just that, Climate Love Ireland, and then the 100% ReLoved one is 100 in numbers, percent written, ReLoved, and then a lowercase dash.
Oh yeah, underscore. Yeah.
Underscore.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. And is there anything else that you want to share that either you have hopes to do with Climate Love or 100% ReLoved before we move on towards the last section?
Yeah. So I think, you know, on Climate Love Ireland, it's we're really promoting like a 4-day work week, like really questioning capitalism and the kind of working like crazy. So like when I first started in March of 2019, like I feel like everyone got such a huge burst of energy, and I kind of felt like I was on a surfboard like riding tsunami of energy, and it was actually like burnout central, and like starting 100% ReLoved, and so excited, and it was so good, except like after a while like it kind of hellish, like I was just like, you know, posting crazy amounts and like trying to do so much, and I was haggard, and like that's just like, you know, burnout as a culture I just completely disagree with. Climate of Ireland started as very social media, and like there was community stuff with 100% ReLoved, like we did a few swaps and events and stuff like that, but then COVID hit, so Climate of Ireland kind of stayed online mainly. But I kind of did reevaluate like a lot, like what are we trying to do with this platform? Like, we're just trying to be part of the noise. You know, everyone has the facts at this stage. I didn't want to be repeating ourselves. So we started more like the real life community stuff. And like that has been a game changer like this summer. And it means the actual kind of social media following has really slowed down, but I felt like the depth of the community and the kind of engagement has been much more fulfilling and better. Yeah. And really great people have come on board, like Jess she was the first person to come and really kind of propel the energy and like the on the ground community work, and like started the Portobello cleanup group. And then an amazing guy, Rob, came on, and he's actually just been awarded a grant to do a year-long project in primary schools. And he's a sound artist, so he does sound recordings, and he's going to work with trees, and like that's going to be the kind of creative foundation with the primary schools, that the kids are going to listen to trees. And then Climate of Ireland is going to provide the kind of coinciding environmental workshops. So like that's a really nice project. I'd love to do more of that kind of thing. And then I'm been working on a film actually the past few months for Climate of Ireland, and it's like a short spoken word film I've written. It could be shit, I don't know, but I've written it, and I'm making it. And I won't give away the name just yet, but it's a kind of, it follows a young protagonist, and it kind of through her eyes just draws parallels to how women are treated in society, to how the planet is treated in society. And I hope for it to be a kind of an empowering and again catalyst for discussion. So hopefully, if it's not like absolute shite, like, you know, that we'll have screenings maybe around Christmas, and then maybe a panel about the topics raised, because it talks about kind of menstrual cycles and the planet, and just stuff that I dealt with, kind of, you know, seeing women, you know, as objects, really, as models. You know, we're bombarded with billboards and fashion all the time. Those subjects that kind of resonate with me, I think resonate hopefully with other people as well.
Definitely.
So just using that, like as a hopefully a discussion. So yeah, there's the film project, Rob's doing that. The website's something that I really want to build, but then finding that balance of like not doing too much work, because I fundamentally don't agree with that anymore. So it is just kind of this, just making life easier and more maybe efficient, but doing less if possible.
Yeah, I know, I totally get you. Like having more downtime and doing like the effective work or whatever. But it sounds like you guys have so much like in the pipeline, which is really exciting. So I can't wait, and I can't wait to see your film. Like, I know I wrote something before and was like, this is the worst thing ever. No one's ever going to see this. And you think that about your own stuff and never about other people. So I'm excited to see it anyway. But I know that won't change that writer's doubt. But before we let you go, Lara, I have started asking people some random questions at the end of some episodes. So I chose the alphabet instead of numbers, just because I'm weird like that. So you pick a letter of the alphabet, and then I have a randomly assigned question. You don't need to give an answer related to climate change or to the letter. It can be whatever you like. If you want to give me your first letter. M. A piece of art that moved you. Look at that. Asking the creative person. So it could be a film, painting, poem, anything at all. Something that moved you.
Oh my God. I like braiding sweetgrass, the quotes in there.
What is that?
A book. Is that a form of art?
Oh,
it's a book
of course. Called
Braiding Sweetgrass, and it's about like indigenous wisdom and plants, and but it kind of, the way it speaks is like really beautiful, and kind of it speaks of kind of plants as like next of kin, rather than, you know, just things out there like objects.
Oh, that sounds so cool. I'm adding that to my to get list book. That's really lovely. And then another letter?
S.
What would you like the next generation or generations to know?
That it's okay to embrace your masculine, feminine sides and bust away stereotypes. I feel like stereotypes really trap people and like cause a lot of suffering, and we really need like balance, not just within like women and men, but like within individuals, like to reestablish the balance, because men are so trapped in like being a man, and that obviously causes them so much suffering. And then women are, you know, we're all kind of living this, you know, the masks, like stereotypes.
Yeah, trying to live in these like constructed boxes that are not natural to nature, and we're like, this is what it is to be a man or be a woman or be straight or not straight, and it's caused so much unhappiness. So yeah, that's a really good one. I fully agree. Down with the patriarchy, smash gender stereotypes.
Yes. I feel like the kids are like well on their way though. I feel like they are so
Yes.
far ahead of us.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys, like, wow. So I think they're definitely don't need the older generation to advise them. Like it's actually, if anything, the other way around.
Yes, yeah, that is a very good point. And I just love seeing how like colorful people are now, and people can just like wear what they want and they express themselves how they please, and it's just, yeah, it's fabulous. I love it. And then we'll do one more letter.
Z.
If you had the whole world's attention for 30 seconds, what would you say?
Oh,
No pressure.
I would say, like, this sounds so cliche, and it is, but like, you know, like really pause, breathe, remember what you're grateful for, and like send love to thy neighbor, thy enemy type thing. And people actually did that. So I don't know. That's it really.
Well, it would be an effective thing if people listened, because I think we do forget, we lose our empathy a lot of the time, I think, and we forget what it is to be on the other side, and you forget how everything from fashion to food, it's all connected, and like there's someone making this or someone growing this somewhere. So like, yeah, I have to be, and I need to remind myself to breathe as well. What would I say? Oh man, I haven't a clue. Like, I'd want to just yell at them, just be like, get your act together, but I know it is only the 1%. So I would probably say something along the lines of like, the same system is screwing us all. There's only a 1% that are like living off how much we're all fighting against each other, and we have the power to like overthrow any system that we have built. We just need to do it in unity, despite our differences, find our common ground. But it's when it comes to racism or even talking about like the different oppression of men and women, like that all stems from the same system. Like, it's screwing us all.
Yeah.
And then the big guy will be like, oh look, it's that guy, he's taking your job or he's taking your money and they're doing
divide
this
and conquer.
Yeah. So I would probably Braveheart style rally everyone and be like, no, it's it's them. Something along those lines. But hopefully I'd prepare it in advance if I was to ever have such a world dominating stage. Amazing. Laragh, thank you so much for being on Book of Leaves. I really loved chatting to you, and I hope people take a leaf out of your book and start wearing a brooch or logo of 100% ReLoved and spark some conversations and highlight fashion and whatnot. So yeah, just thank you so much for being here and for what you do.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much. Yeah, first podcast, and it was a great experience.
Woo! You made it. Now, that was Laragh. I hope you guys enjoyed that chat. I loved her honesty, and yeah, we find a lot in common with the two of us, having our hands on loads of different pies. But absolutely check out Climate Love Ireland on Instagram and 100% ReLoved. You can order pins from 100% ReLoved. I've also linked Reusey and Thriftify below where they're stocked as well. Yeah, you'll find them in a couple of places, and you can always make your own. But if you are interested in getting involved with Climate Love Ireland's volunteer action group, you can contact them on Instagram as well. And if you've any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or them. I can pass them on. And if you've any suggestions for this podcast, people or topics that you would like to hear for next season, because I've already got this season pretty much sorted, so if there's anything that you want to hear, absolutely let me know. I'll be wrapping up at the end of December, start of January, for like a little 3-month break, and I disabled the Patreon and everything so that your people don't be paying for podcasts when they're not getting them. So yeah, if you can support the Patreon or the Book of Leaves, please do. And or the Book of Leaves, or buy me a coffee /Book of Leaves, please do. That's a once-off contribution if you can't subscribe to something monthly, which I totally understand. And what else? Oh yeah, please leave a review, especially if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts. That would be very, very helpful. And a few stars would be very nice. So thank you so much to the people who've already done that. And yeah, pass this on to a friend that you think might like it. And maybe sure I'll see some of you at the Star Chester's Lane in Mayo or Donegal or Cavan or Monaghan or Wexford. I'll be in Wexford as well. So yeah, we're going to Ballina, we're going to Ballore, we're going to Wexfordtown, Monaghan, Cavan and Navan tonight. So might see us at one of them. And please do hang around after and come up to me and say hi. Because yeah, we'd love to see some faces. Thank you so much for listening this far. Hope you have a wonderful 2 weeks and I will talk to you in 2 weeks time. All the best, guys. Bye.